Stop! I'm David Tian, Ph.D., and in this video I talk about the secret to getting what you want while being happy. Welcome to Man Up episode 155.
Masculinity for the intelligent man. I'm David Tian, Ph.D., and this is Man Up!
Hi, I'm David Tian, Ph.D., and for over the past 10 years I've been helping hundreds of thousands of people in over 87 countries attain success, happiness, and fulfillment in life and love. And welcome to Man Up episode 155, I believe. Let me just double check on that. 155. And I'm here in Bangkok, and let me show you the view. See, hopefully the camera will adjust. Yeah, and there it is. And it was raining earlier, and this is a view from a part of Bangkok I'm not usually in. Normally I'm in the CBD, and there's a really cool pool. This is part of the luxury collection. And this is the part of Bangkok that most Western tourists will see more of, the Sukhumvit area. So I'm out here and just recovering from a pretty intense few days of birthday celebrations. Let's see if I can refocus this mid-video. I can't. Okay, there we go. And drinking and eating a lot. So recovering, getting back on the diet. So answering a question from the private Facebook group of Man Up. And this is the secret to getting, well, I've retitled it as the secret to getting what you want while being happy. But it was originally in the context of some live shows I did within the Man Up group as part of our launch of a new advanced program called Awakenings. And in the live shows, I talked about narcissistic personality disorder. I talked about being outcome dependent. And one of the questions that came out of that was, if I want to achieve and get success in life, how can I do that without depending on the outcome? Without, in other words, really so that my happiness is dependent on whether I get the goal. So part of the thing about happiness is that it's often elusive. Most people that I work with have taken on either a pleasing or achieving, or both, pleaser or achiever, coping strategies when they were very young in how to deal with pleasing their parents and their first trauma. And if this doesn't make any sense to you, go watch the live shows in the Facebook group. Okay, I've already conducted those there, and I've gone into detail there. So one of the questions there is, if I'm an achiever, if I need to achieve in order to feel worthy, in order to have confidence, I need to go out and get the A's in school, or get that certain, or I won't be happy with myself unless I can reach that milestone of whatever it is, whether it's a money goal, a fitness goal, whatever it is. A lot of people don't allow themselves to feel happy, to feel fulfilled until they reach that goal. And often those goals, if they're really super achievers, are very ambitious goals, and sometimes those goals may not be achieved for a decade or more. So for instance, if you're not going to be happy or give yourself permission to be happy until you have $1 billion company, then you're going to be waiting a very long time to be happy. And one of the markers of this is, even if you're an achiever and you manage to achieve that, and many of my friends and myself throughout our college years, like through school, all the way through college and then into graduate school, and then after that and getting into McKinsey or the banks or whatever was your goal that made you feel like you made it, whatever those goals were, notice that once you achieved them, they weren't that big of a deal anymore. It was just sort of like, oh wow, this is it. Or even when you get close to it, that penultimate step, when you knew already that it was going to be yours and you just had to fill out some paperwork and or accept the job offer or whatever, then you celebrate for one day, but then the next morning arises and you're like, oh wow, I just sacrificed whatever number of years it was, the countless hours of instead of having fun like your friends were, you decided you're going to sacrifice all that and stay home and study all the time, or you're going to sacrifice whatever it is going to take in order to get that goal and achievement, and you become needy towards it, but you work your way through it, and you get it, and it's still not satisfying. It's still an empty feeling. This is common in many areas of life. Hopefully for those who have succeeded and achieved, you know what I'm talking about. Let's make sure that it's focused right here. Now, this applies just as strongly and just as well when it comes to men trying to attract women. So one of the common ideas, and one that, over 5 years ago, I was also, what was it like in the desire system? This was like 7 years ago I was teaching that. the idea of like achieve your way to self-esteem. And that is one aspect of how you can strengthen your self-esteem is to become competent and to trust in your ability to overcome obstacles and so on. But if you take that too far and that becomes the only way you achieve self-esteem, in other words, that you don't allow yourself to feel happy until you achieve the goal, then, and if the goal happens to be becoming sexy enough or whatever, sexually attractive enough to attract those physically attractive women naturally, you don't feel good about yourself until they like you, until you get to the point where either you get enough money or the body or the social skills in order to attract that. Only then will you feel good about yourself. And then if you, like most guys don't even achieve that, but even if they do, it becomes a trap. And their self-esteem is outside the mercy of is at the mercy of things outside their control. So that was part of what I covered in the live shows. The question then is, okay, David, I get it. I don't want my self-esteem to be at the mercy of achieving external goals. And especially if when the external goals depend on other people's reactions to you or approval or validation or, the professor gives you an A or something or you don't feel good about yourself. Or even then, even if your happiness is just one of those things where I'm going to keep lifting, I'm going to keep going with the deadlift until I reach a certain amount. That is more or less within your control. You just got to stick with it. But if it's a very ambitious goal, you're not going to feel good and happy. You're not giving yourself permission to feel happy until you've attained that. And that's a miserable existence up to the point where you attain that. So I grew up as an achiever. Most of my friends are achievers. All of my relatives that I know of who have achieved, they've all achieved a lot and they're all achievers. And one of the ways that we drive ourselves, and a very common thing in Asian families, going back to, possibly Confucian influence, is the strict disciplinarian household where where through rewards and punishments, they only give you the reward when you've gotten the grades or whatever external accolade that they want you to have. And this is a trap, and it gets you there, but you're going to be miserable until you get it. And even when you get it, you'll still find it empty. And when it comes to like achieving to attract women, like achieve your way into the bedroom, or whatever, like even that is going to be empty, and then it will become addictive because you'll need more of it, and more of it, and more of it. And at any moment, they can just withdraw attention, approval, and then you'll have to go and scramble to go and find it. So I go into a lot more detail on this in the live shows. The question then is, okay, I get that. Now, if I remove the motivation to go in and get that goal, then won't I become lazy? Won't I become like, oh, okay, I'm having fun all the time. I'm not going to push myself to go and study. I'm not going to push myself to achieve. If I'm having a good time all the time, then how would I ever stick with it to get that goal? So this is what I want to address. And I came up with this great analogy. I think I read it in the success coaching book. I can't remember where I found it now because it was quite a while ago. And it was the story of a high-level performance coach. And he was saying it was like $1 million a day to get this coach. And he was coaching, I think it was like the Olympic team or a very high-level team. And I think it was for the U.S., but I'm not sure. Anyway, so they hired this coach they brought this coach in to coach this, I think it was hurdling. It was some kind of like track and field thing. And they had this guy who's been training for quite a long time, but he kept hitting this ceiling on his time, how fast he could run, whatever it was. I think maybe it was 110-meter hurdles. He can only make it. He couldn't break like the 12-second mark or whatever it was. And they brought in this $1 million a day coach. And the $1 million a day coach came and saw this hurdler, and he's like, "Okay, run for me. I want to see." So the hurdler ran, and then he gets close to the 12-second mark, but he didn't break it. And he looks at the time, and he crosses the finish line. He's like, "Fuck!" And he gets really mad at himself. And this is a very common thing among achievers. They're very hard on themselves because their parents were hard on themselves, and they use the stick to motivate them going forward. So he's really hard on himself, and he's like, "Shit, fuck, man, I can't do it. And the coach says, "Okay, I see what you're doing now. Okay, now go walk back and run again." And the hurdler's like, whoa, wait, we usually take 5-minute rests between sprints. And the coach said, "Yeah, I know, but just take your time walking back and then just do it again. Trust me." And then he said this, "Now this time when you cross the finish line, celebrate like you've won the gold medal." Like you've already gotten the goal that you want. What's that going to look like? What would you do with your face, your voice, and your body? How would you celebrate? What would you look like? Just go ahead and humor me and pretend. He's like, no way, this is stupid. It's like, humor me. You know, I'm only in here, it's for a day trial, so just try it out. And the hurdler was like, okay, I guess I'd go like, woo, and it's like, okay, more, exaggerate that more. And so he's really getting into it. The coach got his teammates to get into it with him, high-fiving them and clapping, you know, like basically celebrating, right? And he's like, yeah, and he's doing his victory lap. He's like, awesome. So that's exactly what I want you to do, the coach says, when you cross the finish line. Okay, now go walk back to the starting line and run your best. Now, what the coach didn't tell him is that the coach is going to move that finish line back. I think it was like 2 meters or something. And also, the runner was already quite tired because he just ran. Anyway, so he comes barreling down the finish line. Boom! It was the worst time he'd ever posted in the past like 2 years or something like that. He didn't get the full rest time. Plus, it was the finish line had been moved back. So he looked at the clock as he passes the line. It's like, fuck! And then the coach's like, hey, celebrate. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, celebrate. It's like celebrating. And the teammates are getting into it, high-fiving him, hugging him. He's doing his victory lap. You know, they gave him the flag. He's like, woo! And he's like, okay. And the coach is like, how do you feel? He's like, actually, that was kind of fun. And then he's like, great. Now you're going to do it again. Again, we usually take the rest. He's like, no rest, just walk back, do it again. And then this time the coach moves it back even further, another 2 meters. So the guy comes running down, he doesn't realize the finish line had been moved, crosses the line, his worst time in like whatever, 5-10 years, looks at the time like, fuck, that was horrible. And he's like, okay, woo, and he's just celebrating, and everyone's coming out and like high-fiving him, giving him the flag, he does his victory laps, having a great time, jumping up and down. It's like, yeah. It's like, this is awesome. And he goes to the coach, hey, this is a lot of fun. This is what you call coaching? And the coach is like, perfect. Now, what you're going to do is do it again. He made him do it again a couple more times. And every time, he moved that finish line back, further back until basically the guy wasn't even looking at the clock anymore. Excuse me. So he crosses the finish line, already knows he's going to celebrate, so just bursts into celebration. They give him the flag. He's having fun with it. He's doing his victory dance, you know. And then one more time, I think it was like the 5th time, tells the guy to go back to the starting line, and this time the coach moves the finish line back to the original position, and he tells him, just take your time walking back, catch your breath, and then just do your best. So the guy comes barreling down, boom, 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 110 meters, gets through it, doesn't even look at the clock, just starts celebrating. His teammates come hugging him, and they're like, did you look at the clock, man? He's like, what? And he looks at the clock, and he actually had his personal best. And it was under conditions where he didn't take full rest time. And he just was like so shocked. But it didn't even matter to him at that point because he was already like, hey, I'm already having a great time anyway. Now, this is one of the secrets to success and attainment. There are those who put the locomotive on their shoulders and they just crawl their way through for decades even. Like, where if you went through undergrad and gave up, doing all-nighters all night in subjects that, like all-nighters every semester, in subjects that you didn't really enjoy, weren't really into, that you couldn't get in flow in, that you just didn't enjoy the process. And it was all to get this goal at the end. And even if you did get that goal, because a lot of people, it's very difficult to succeed under those conditions, a lot of stress. But even for the minority who do succeed under those conditions, find it to be an empty victory. And that includes, like when it comes to pickup artists trying to learn how to get good with women, they're out in the club sacrificing a lot of their health. These guys who actually had very introverted lives and they may be very introspective lives, reflective lives, then go out and 3 or 4 nights a week, they're blasting their livers away, all this stuff. And then they wake up late and that affects them at work and school and so on. But they're sacrificing all of the stuff to get girls at the club and all this. And it becomes like clocking in kind of mentality because they're sacrificing certain joys, maybe the joy of staying at home and playing video games or whatever it was, for the joy, for the pain of going through all of the awkwardness and all of this to get the club girls or something like that. And even the very small minority who actually persevere through that process, when they get it, if it's an empty victory and they have to keep getting it, and they're like addicts. They have to keep going back to keep getting that high because it's a very temporary high that goes away very quickly, temporary high. Whereas those who truly succeed are the ones who already reward themselves in the first place. And they start from a position of, not of like striving through pain, but a position of appreciation and gratitude for what they already have and the position that they're already in, and starting from that position of inside already celebrating, so that they remove the stress, they remove all of the tension and pressure, because that's all mental and psychological and subjective. And instead they enjoy the process, they enjoy the journey, they lose themselves in the journey. And they get that goal. You're going to end up getting that goal. But even if you don't, it doesn't matter, because you already are enjoying it. You're already having fun. That's what matters. If you delay your happiness until the 10-year mark when you finally sell that company, it's going to be an empty victory. And even if you do make it that far, many people don't. And even if you do make it that far, it's going to be empty victory, and you look back and you've just gone through 10 years of misery. But if you love the work, if the work doesn't feel like work for you, and here's a great example. A lot of you guys in the Man Up group, and I know a lot of guys watching this video, because just the people we attract through our videos are into fitness, or at least are trying to get into fitness. And many of them are into fitness. And a great example is, remember when you first started working out and it was work? And the people who look at it as a pain to be endured don't stick through. They're the type of people who buy a gym membership at Christmas time or at New Year and then drop out by Valentine's Day. That's like 90% of people who own gym memberships. There was a statistic I heard that it was over 85% of people only use like 2 months of a gym membership a year. So those are the regular people. Those are the people who are like, okay, I'm going to slave through this very boring, unpleasant thing in order to get some goal that, if you're in fitness, you know, you don't just like lose fat like that for most people. They have to stick through it. And even if they do get that goal, if they don't stick through it, if it doesn't become a way of life, they're going to lose it. But if you actually learn to enjoy, if you do the fitness because you learn to enjoy the actual activity, you're not only going to stick through with it and have the best chances of getting the result that you were originally aiming for, you're actually going to be a lot happier and fulfilled. And that's the route to success. And that's the way to not be needy towards the outcome. When you enjoy the process in and of itself. The key to doing that is to start off already appreciating and coming from a place of appreciation, gratitude. When it comes to fitness, you can appreciate the fact that you can afford. You're one of the rare people in the world, because most of the world is like living on like $5 a day or less. You are one of those people who can afford a gym membership. You can afford the leisure time to work on your body, and that you can enjoy that feeling of that dopamine rush, and so on, right? Like you actually have the luxury of doing this, and that you can start with. That's a place you can start with, because then you come to it with a positive expectation instead of a stressful expectation. And that's the key to transforming from being needy towards the outcome to actually being lost in the outcome, to like actually lose yourself in the process and being in flow throughout your life, in all these different areas of your life, whatever you want to get good at. You're not needy towards it, intense and stressed out about it, but you actually enjoy the process of getting there. And if you don't enjoy the process of getting there, you either need to find a way to enjoy it, adjusting your mindsets. That's often all it is, just changing your perspective. Or maybe that particular activity is not suited to you, and you adapt the activity to one that you enjoy. And in fitness, there are lots of different ways to get the same sort of goal, and lots of different conditions that you can enjoy. And so maybe that condition that you're doing it under is not that enjoyable. You just need to tweak it. And it just takes some experimentation. And this is the same with life. If the thing that, like, a lot of guys have money goals, and a lot of the ways that they come up with to meet those money goals require a lot of work that they don't enjoy, because otherwise they would have already had the money that they wanted, right? Because if they enjoyed it, they would be doing it already. But it involves things that they don't enjoy. So they're not going to stick with it, and then they're not going to get the goal. Or if they beat themselves to death to get it, it's going to be an empty victory, and they're going to have wasted all of those years looking back in pain and misery to get that goal. So if you're not loving the thing that you're doing, you need to really re-examine what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And then it's really just about tweaking it so that you do enjoy that, or find a new activity. It's that simple. But the philosophy of it is very clear. If you become needy towards the outcome, you are basically decreased your chances of getting it to the greatest degree. And even if you do get it, it's going to be a miserable ride, a miserable process. But to get that goal, your best chances of it are to find a process to get you there, and then lose yourself in the enjoyment of the process itself. To think about that hurdler, crosses that finish line, doesn't even look, because it doesn't matter. He's already going to celebrate anyway, and he was celebrating before he started the run. And he's running because it makes him feel good, because this is what he's good at and he enjoys it. And And so there you go. I'm going to leave with that. Find a way to lose yourself in the process and make sure that it's a process that you actually enjoy, and tweaking it to see conditions that you could actually enjoy it, or maybe you need to find a whole new activity, one that you can actually enjoy. So there you go. That's the way to actually get what you want while having a great time doing it and being happy. All right, so join the private Facebook group. By the way, the context for that question is best understood in terms of our live shows that I did in the group. So to get access to those live shows, there are 4 of them where I went into detail on this. You need to join the Facebook group. And we approve requests every day. Just click that link. Once you click the link, you're going to go to that Facebook group. You got to sign into Facebook and then click Join Group. It's that simple. Click the link, join the group. I'll see you inside the Facebook group. Until then, man up.